Nightmare Real, and you're watching Mission Boxing Today on YouTube.
Heavyweight boxing fans, what's the deal? All right, well, it didn't take Joseph Parker that long to respond to Eddie Hearn and Tony Bellew. He came out on Twitter yesterday, and he said if all goes well, May 6th, he will fight, or he has no problem fighting Tony Bellew at the O2 Arena. All right. Now, before I go into that, let me give you what I want to happen. I'm going to stay consistent. All right. I want to see unification fights. All right. So the winner out of, and I know this is very simplistic and plain Jane and so vanilla to some of you guys, unification fights. Who wants to see that, right? I want unifications. I want things that make the most sense for me as a fan when I watch it, okay? I'm not coming from the standpoint of their being their manager, of their promoter, or, you know, their accountant. I don't do that. I don't handle their money or manage their money, okay? I just want to see unification. So, yes, I want to see the winner out of Hughie Fury versus Parker to take on Stavern and the Deontay Wilder winner. That's what I want to see. All right, now, with that to the side about what I want to see, I can see this fight happening. I can see, let's say if Parker beats Hughie Fury, I can see him fighting Tony Bellew, okay? It will, now I'm going to speak as if I'm his manager or his, whatever, you know, part of his team, okay? Yes, it will make his stock higher if he, let's say, gets past Hughie Fury. That's one guy from the UK that everybody sees a bright future in. Let's say if he beats him, he's undefeated. He's the younger, you know, cousin of Tyson Fury, so on and so forth. So if he beats him, then he goes over to the UK, fights Tony Bellew, beats him too. Obviously, now he's more familiar with the UK crowd. So obviously that makes sense. He'll get, you know, a good paycheck for that fight. So yeah, of course that makes sense. You know what I mean? Like that would make sense for him on that end. Okay. And technically, if you want to be, you know, be technical about it, David Haye, although they're putting Hughie Fury as the mandatory, David Haye was the #1 contender by the WBO. At least the last rankings I've seen, they haven't refreshed the rankings yet, but for the February rankings, they have David Haye as #1. Some of you already know that like in December, David Haye pretty much just said the hell with fighting the winner out of, well, no, it was in November, like towards the end of November, because that's when him and Bellew was announced. But the WBO was going to make David Haye the mandatory for the winner out of Parker versus Ruiz to fight for the strap, and Haye didn't want it. He felt as if there was bigger, you know, more money to make with Tony Bellew, and he, as he said out of his own mouth, it's an easy fight. So he took the fight with Tony Bellew and he lost. You know what I mean? So, hey, man, Bellew did beat the #1 rated guy, technically. You know what I mean? And I know Christian Hammer is also rated high, and so is Jarrell Miller. So, yeah, I believe that's how the rankings were. It was Haye, Fury, Hammer, and Miller. You know what I mean? So, yeah, man. If Parker does beat Hughie Fury, although I want unification, I can also see him taking fights, you know, with Tony Bellew, possibly like a Christian Hammer or somebody like that. Somebody else that's rated high. That's probably not the mandatory, but somebody that's highly rated by the sanctioning body. I could see him doing that too. I mean, you know, but what I want is unification. But him fighting Tony Bellew now Joseph Parker's already said that he has no problem fighting Deontay Wilder. Also, he, you know, he even came out on his Twitter and said, you know, that if all goes well, he said the same thing. If all goes well, that he'll fight Wilder. So it lets me know that Parker is willing to fight anybody. But sometimes some fans will take this as if like, oh, well, he's ducking Wilder now. Although that fight hasn't even came up yet, they still need to get through their fights. You know what I mean? It's not set in stone. But I can see some fans saying, oh, well, he must be ducking Wilder, because why would he say he'll fight Wilder and now he's talking about fighting Bellew? I mean, it's like people call your name and you respond. You know what I mean? People call your name, you respond. Tony Bellew said his name and picked him out of the bunch, so he's responding to him, you know? Just like if Deontay Wilder was to come out and respond to Tony Bellew, that doesn't mean that he's ducking anybody. You're just responding to people calling your name out. You know what I mean? But as the David Haye and Bellew fight showed us, nothing is guaranteed, no matter how it looks on paper, no matter how how much of a fan you are, whoever fighter it is, they have to get in the ring and fight the fights. Like for example, I think the Wilder Stavern rematch is a waste of time, but Wilder still has to go in there and get it done. There's a possibility he could be beat. You know what I mean? And I'm gonna do a style breakdown using my heavy bag with that one too, of the Wilder versus Stavern fight. And then with Parker and Fury, I'm favoring Parker, but that isn't a gimme fight. That is a tough fight, man, and I can see Hughie Fury pulling that off. You know what I mean? But I'm a favor Parker in that fight. I'm gonna do a style breakdown of that fight too. But yeah, man, Joseph Parker came out and responded to Tony Bellew. Again, I want unification, so please don't mix my words up in the comment section. I want unification fights, okay? But I can also see him fighting Tony Bellew for the reasons I stated. You know what I mean? Get his stock higher, and then again, no fights guaranteed. Joshua has to beat Klitschko first. All right. So let's just I guess we'll have to wait and see, man. But let's just say if Joshua were to beat Klitschko, that's a possibility of a Parker Joshua fight. Their names have been connected before they won titles. Remember, Parker. Remember that video? Some of you probably seen it, but there was a video that Parker came out with. It was a quick video, and he was calling out. Now again, this was before Joshua won his title and Parker won a title, and Parker was saying that him and Joshua should fight each other so they can determine who was the number one contender or the mandatory for the WBO. All right, and then Joshua ended up getting his title shot against Charles Martin. Anyways, we know the history, you know. And then Parker was the mandatory for the IBF when Joshua had the title. And then the WBO opened up, and then the WBO ordered Parker versus Ruiz. And then Parker and his team, obviously, they feel as if, well, shit. In a situation like that, you're looking at, well, what makes the most sense for their career. Now, again, this is from their manager and their promoter standpoint. And they picked the Ruiz fight. It's a more winnable fight on paper, and it's at home. You can draw that huge crowd at home and have a chance of winning the title at home. All right. So that's why he chose to do that instead of fight Joshua for the IBF. All right. At that point in time. But that's in the past, man. Looking for the future. So we got to see if Parker gets past Fury and Wilder gets past Stavern, and we'll see what Bellew's going to say or do when that time happens. Again, like I said, I want unification, but I would not put it past Parker and his team going to the UK. Winnable fight. And if you look at their dimensions and size, I think Parker is the naturally heavier guy. I think he's a solid 240 pounds. But if you look at their height and their reach, is similar. Parker's only the inch taller in height. But with these heights, man, they list a guy at one thing, then they stand next to each other, and then the other guy is taller than the other guy. You know what I mean? It was kind of like the Bellew and Haye. They list them both as 6'3", but when you look at them standing next to each other, it looks like Bellew's like an inch taller. At least that's what it seemed like to me. But, yeah, then the reach, I believe Bellew reach is 74 inches and Parker's 76. So similar in height and reach, you know what I mean? But I think Parker is the naturally heavier guy, you know what I mean? But, yeah, Parker came out. Parker, I like that he's coming out and he's answering these guys back. Even if it's something just as simple as, hey, I have no problem fighting you. I'm glad that he's doing that, But you guys let me know what you think about this in the comment section. I'm out.